So Texas A&M, of course, fired Jimbo Fisher, and guys, I couldn't be more surprised that Jimbo Fisher got fired. That they decided to buy out his contract of 70, I think 75 or 76 million dollars. Now I don't know if they can pay that in full. I think they can maybe pay him a large percentage. I think at one point, then pay it out the rest. I don't really know how the contract really goes that much, but they have to pay him $76 million at some point, or $75 million at some point. And I remember getting cussed out by A&M fans because I tweeted out the year that they were going to go 6-6 in 2022. A lot of people called me crazy. A lot of people called me mad. A lot of people called me delusional because I'm a Bama fan. And they went 5-7. So I was wrong. I was wrong. For the 20,000 you guys that viewed that tweet, and for the thousands of you guys that were in my mentions, pretty much cussing me out and telling me that I was delusional. Yeah, you guys never came back as soon as I responded to every single A&M comment on Twitter, on my YouTube channel, and nobody responded to me. There was a few of you guys that did it, but there was a lot of you guys that talked trash. And by the way, made bets, actually made bets. I'm still waiting. I sent you guys my Cash App, never sent my money. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, Jimbo Fisher deserved to be out of there. There's no question about it. He has overachieved when it comes to recruiting. We got to give him that. Jimbo Fisher, he's a hell of a recruiter. He knows how to put together a staff full of great recruits. And again, whether if it's him offering recruits, again, this is reportedly land, acres of land or money buyouts, whatever it is. He has found a way to get them a bunch of money. Listen, a lot of universities, a lot of schools, even before the whole NIL process came, let's be honest here. They were putting money on the table. A bunch of universities were doing the exact same thing, right? So let's not act like schools weren't doing, having at least one up on another university as far as trying to get top recruits. It happens, right? But you know, they did really, really well. They took advantage of the NIL situation, and they ended up having a lot of great recruiting classes. As a matter of fact, they had an historic recruiting class. They've had, I think, 3 or 4 straight recruiting classes of finishing inside the top 10. They've had 3 straight finishing within the top 5. A&M, from a recruiting standpoint, overachieved like hell. The amount of 5-stars and 4-star players they got was ridiculous. They literally locked a gate around Texas. And they just, again, of course you have the Texas Longhorns with Steve Sarkisian. He did a really, really good job as well. But, again, as far as getting the best players from that state, as far as just, no one ever expected them to do what they did, we got to give Jimbo Fisher a lot of credit. But the problem was that once those players landed there, they didn't do anything with them, right? You look at you had the constant 8-4 seasons. You had the one season where they went 7-5. You had another season. I think their best season was 9-1. That was the COVID season. And I think even you take away COVID, that A&M squadron was really good, right? That was probably what Missouri is now. That's what A&M was, right? A&M was really, really that was a good team in 2020, even without the COVID year. That still was going to be a 10-11 win football team. So I'll give Jimbo Fisher that. He had one great year. And then all of a sudden after that, he again 6-6. Again, you look at the 8-4. Finally beats Alabama. It's a fucking parade in College Station, right? It's a freaking parade in College Station. Everyone's going crazy, right? Right. You had the one player, DeMarvin Leal, said, "Yeah, I came to A&M to beat a team like Alabama," which is again, think about that. Imagine saying that you went to a school just to beat Alabama instead of competing for a national championship. Delirious, absolutely delirious. But yeah, you beat Alabama with a third string quarterback. Again, it was embarrassing, but they did beat us. But that was it. That was their season, 8-4. So when you look at the biggest accomplishments that Jimbo Fisher has had over there so far, it's getting the greatest recruiting class of all time and doing great in that department. Number 2, it was winning a New Year's Six bowl. I forgot which bowl game they won, but it was a New Year's Six bowl because they beat North Carolina. So they did that during the COVID year. And then number 3, they beat Alabama. They finally got ahead, and they finally got ahead and beat Alabama. But guess who else beat Alabama? That was an A&M head coach, Kevin Sumlin, in his first year. His first year in the SEC, Kevin Sumlin beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, right? Like that. So Kevin Sumlin was producing 8-4, constant 8-4, 7-5 type seasons. Kevin Sumlin had a season where he went 11. Remember, he went 11-2 with Johnny Manziel, right? They won the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma. The next year they won 9 games, beat Duke. Like, so I mean, so when it's kind of crazy because when you take a look at the coaching record that Kevin Sumlin had versus Jimbo Fisher, it's like it's neck and neck. Like it's damn near even. Like it's insane. And even when you take a look at what Kevin Sumlin's done, Kevin Sumlin still, I think you can make an argument, has had a better path than Jimbo Fisher at A&M because Kevin Sumlin never had a losing season. Never had a losing season at A&M, I believe. He never had a losing season, at least when he was in the SEC. Yes, he had his 7-5, 8-4 seasons, but he never had it. Jimbo Fisher has. When they had the #1 recruiting class in the country, when they had the previous class was still a really, really good class that was established. Like, it's crazy, man, because Jimbo Fisher, he's had some elite defensive lines, and I mean elite defensive lines. Some really good secondaries. He's had Kellen Mond. He's had Johnny Manziel. He's had like Devin A-Chain or some people call him Academy. I think Devin A-Chain. He's had some really good receivers. He's had not Mike Evans. I'm sorry, that was Kevin Sumlin. But he's had some really good receivers. He's had some really good offensive linemen. Like he's gotten some really good football players that have came through Texas A&M. But at the end of the day, with all the amount of resources, with arguably a top 3 a sports facility, not just in college football, but on planet Earth. And people think I'm exaggerating when I say that. But like guys, college football has the best facilities, has the best sports facilities on the planet. There is no other sport. There's no other major sport there's no other major sport that even competes. That's even in the same that's even in the same category as some of these collegiate facilities. Like I remember when Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool's manager, came to Notre Dame's facility and said, "Dude, this is the best sports facility I have ever seen in my entire life. That's the best sports facility on the planet." That's the first and I think the only time he's actually toured a university in their sports facility. Imagine if he came to Tuscaloosa. Imagine if he went to College Station and looked at their sports facilities. Like, A&M has a top 3 sports facility on planet Earth. Pretty much what I'm trying to say, guys, is that A&M has the resources to be successful, to be a juggernaut in college football, but they lack something. This is what they've been lacking, is coaching. They lack the proper coaching staff to get the best out of these kids. And there are some there are some positional units or some, there's some that are greater, better than others. But as far as all around, he's not Kirby Smart. He's not Nick Saban. Hell, he's not even Dan Lanning right now. He's not Dan Lanning. He's not the head coach from Washington. He's not, hell, I'll even say this. He's not Kevin Whittingham. Right? Now, again, I'll give Jimbo Fisher credit because he's gotten great recruiting classes, but A&M, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. With the amount of resources, with the amount of money that these guys produce every single year, the amount of alumni that are billionaires that come from that university, yeah, you would expect A&M to do great in recruiting. You would expect in an age of NIL where the NCAA still doesn't know what the fuck they're doing with NIL and how to control it, you would think that they would dominate in that particular area. And sooner or later, that would result into wins. The only thing Jimbo Fisher has to do is coach. He has to manage his coaching staff. He has to manage the players. He has to coach. And he can't really do that at a high level with A&M. He is stubborn as all hell. He continues to call out Nick Saban, but he will not call out his own coaching staff or even some of his own players for not meeting up to the standards of what they're trying to accomplish, which is trying to win a national championship or compete for a national championship. Oh, hell, compete for an SEC championship because, again, the only time they ever did it was during the COVID year. And even there, they got their ass spanked when Alabama dropped 52 points. When Alabama damn near dropped, I think they did. Didn't they drop 50 points on A&M or somewhere close to that mark? And that was supposed to be the best A&M football team they've had in decades. Literally decades. So, yeah, I mean, Jimbo Fisher deserved to get fired, but this is A&M's fault. This is what happens, man, when you keep hiring these big-name type coaches that just doesn't have that much spunk. Like I said, he quit on Florida State. When Florida State was going bad, when Florida State was going in a bad direction, he quit. He quit on that program to join A&M. And Florida State had to struggle, and I mean had to struggle in order for them to try to get out the woodworks. And the last couple years, Mike Norvell has found a way to turn around Something, by the way, Jimbo Fisher caused. His inability to adapt is the reason was the reason why Florida State was a dumpster fire program for those last 3 years. Those last 3 to 4 years. It started with him. Remember, 7-6 when Florida State came in number 3 ranked in the country, or I think either number 2 or number 3 ranked in the country when they went against Alabama. Their last good season was 2016 prior to Mike Norvell finally getting it around. So for 5 years, they struggled because of Jimbo Fisher. So A&M decided to hire him. A&M decided to give him the bank with that 10-year, $76 million contract. And now look, they had to buy him out. Now again, it is A&M. They can afford it. But I can guarantee, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Elon Musk. If you lose $76 million plus incentives, you would be pissed too for losing that amount of money. So it is what it is as far as that aspect goes. As far as who can replace him, I mean, like I said, you have options. I mean, like I said, you can look at a Glenn Schumann from Georgia, a young defensive coordinator who, you know, he's in the SEC. He's probably arguably the best defensive coordinator in the country. You can look at him. You can look at somebody from Penn State's coaching staff. You can look at somebody from Michigan's coaching staff. Maybe get a Dan Lanning. You can try to get Duke's head coach. I forgot. He was under, I think, he used to coach A&M. What he's doing with Duke is remarkable. Hell, you can look at a Mark Stoops, who, I mean, look what he's doing with Kentucky. I mean, you know, Kentucky has been a really good football program, you know, because of what Mark Stoops has brought. You can try to look for him. Hell, I mean, you know, I'm going to knock on wood for this, but you can try to look at Alabama's coaching staff and see if you can pull off maybe a Tommy Rees. Who knows? You know, you can try to make Deion Sanders. You know, Deion Sanders for Colorado, right? Perfect opportunity. And again, I'm going to be talking about Winston Watkins in a second when we're doing a video on him. But Winston Watkins said, I decommitted because I don't know if he's going to be there in 2 years. And trust me, I know a lot of people are dogging recruits, but trust me, recruits know better than us fans. They know better. And, you know, you can go ahead and make that call and say, listen, we're willing to give you $50, $100 million, you know, somewhere in that ballpark, come coach our university. You don't think Deion's going to take that money? With all the resources that triple the resources that Colorado has, you don't think they're going to take upon that offer? He couldn't stay. I mean, again, he stayed at Jackson State for 2 years. You don't think he's going to leave Colorado at some point to go to a bigger coaching job? With those recruits that are there, you don't think he's going to take that chance? I'm telling you. So there's some really good coaching candidates, but it's up to A&M to find out what they want. And, you know, it is what it is. But for the fans who kept calling me delirious, who kept calling me crazy for saying that Jimbo Fisher was going to fail at A&M, I wonder where you guys are now. Because it's looking pretty quiet in College Station.